This is a stupa in Kapilavastu, which is the birthplace of the Buddha. This is more detailed. You can see how it looks. So it's much different from what we expect today to see in a stupa. But these were the earlier mounds that were built. This is a stupa in Sanchi, in Bhopal, central India. This is the oldest known stupa today. And it is assumed that it was built by Ashoka over a previous stupa that is underneath. The Buddha never, the Buddha never visited Sanchi, but relics of his two main disciples, Shariputra and Moggallana, are believed to be inside. This is a stupa in Sri Lanka. This as well. This is in Mihintale. This is Nepal, Swayambhunath. This is also Nepal, Baudhanath, the Great White Stupa. This is in Tibet, Kumbum, in the city of Gyantse, which is the second largest city of Tibet. It's a very famous place of pilgrimage for the Tibetans. This picture is very old, but I wanted to show it because the shape of the stupa is so extraordinary and I couldn't find a newer picture of it. This is in India. This is a peace pagode, which stands in England. The first one was built actually in commemoration of the drop of the atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There's a Japanese monk who is building these peace pagodas around the world. And this one stands in Milton Keynes in England. This is a stupa in Burma. It's called the Golden Boulder Stupa in Kyaiktiyo, Myanmar. This is Thailand, stupa at the Great Palace. This is Thailand as well. These are just to give you a little bit of a variety of different types and styles of stupa that have developed in the different regions. Especially in Thailand and all over Southeast Asia, many of the stupas are covered in leaf gold, and then precious jewels are placed on top. This stupa here, for example, it has a 72 carat diamond as a jewel at its tip. The reason for that, what we will see later, is that the tip of the stupa, the jewel, actually represents awakened mind, full and complete enlightenment. And the entire structure underneath is actually what supports that awakened living, awakened being. That is why the jewel is placed on top. Traditionally, there are four types of stupas. There are those stupas who are built over the remains of the Buddha or some of his disciples. There are those which contain objects used by the Buddha. There are those which mark important events in the Buddha's life. And there are votive stupas, devotional stupas. Many of the stupas, however, they combine 2 or 3 of these different types into one. Among the Tibetan tradition, there are 8 most popular types of stupas, and these are, in fact, in relation with important events in the Buddha's life, and we will see that in just a minute. Now, the Tibetan word for stupa is cherten, and what that actually means, it means support for offering. Because at the basis of any kind of spiritual development lies generosity. And so a stupa, a stupa, as it represents awakened mind, is such a support for offering. And generosity, also in a spiritual sense, does not just mean giving something that one possesses, but it also means opening up. It also means letting go of fixed ideas, of disturbing emotional states, in order to allow for more harmony to arise. This is also in Burma. This is in Japan. A pagode. As I said before, some of them might have more of a religious function, others might have a secular function. There's different possibilities for these buildings. This is in China. A stupa commemorating one of the two monks who traveled to India to bring Dharma to China. This is in Russia. Again in Tibet. Here we have an example of these 8 stupas of the Tibetan tradition that we're going to have a closer look at. These were built by a great Tibetan Buddhist master by the name of Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, who was a master of a movement called Rimé, which is a non-sectarian movement among the Himalayan Buddhist traditions. And here we have another representation of these 8 stupas. Now this is from a center on the Swiss border, the border between France and Switzerland, called Montchardon or Kama Mingyoling. And I took these pictures in preparation for this presentation because the stupas are they're very good examples of these 8 different stupas, and we can look at the different parts individually from the pictures which I took there. Now, these are the 8 events in the Buddha's life which have become known as the 8 great wonders. The Buddha himself actually mentioned 4 of these places should be visited by followers of his teaching as places to get inspiration and blessing from his life. These places were Lumbini, Bodh Gaya, Sarnath and Kushinagar. The other places later have been added in relationship with important events in the Buddha's life. And the 8 stupas, they stand for each of these events. The first one stands for his birth, and it is called Pepung Cherten in Tibetan, or stupa of heaps. And this refers to the myth that at the time, or the legend that at the time of the Buddha, when he was born, let's say, as a young boy, he took 7 steps, and at the places where he stepped, a lotus appeared. Now, we can take this literally, or we can also take it as representing his completely pure being, or the purity of his being and of his intentions in the world.